Stockpiling ammunition is a must. It's not just for the people who are preparing for the end of the world, financial collapse, another world war, and even just for the guy who goes hunting regularly. We should all have at least a few boxes of rounds stored for an emergency, no matter what you're preparing for. But if you don't know what you're doing, you could lose all of that ammunition and the thousands you spent buying it, all because you didn't know how to properly store it all. Don't let your money go to waste. Here's how you can safely store all of the ammunition you need for every event imaginable, and to make it last for decades. Caliber and cost. Let's get the most obvious considerations out of the way first, namely caliber and how much to spend. If you don't have a shotgun, don't buy shells just in case. Spend your money on the ammunition and brands you prefer for everyday use. Anything outside of your usual inventory is going to go to waste, and ammo isn't exactly cheap. So why spend that money if you don't have a firearm to go with it? Then, buying in bulk is the more cost-effective option in the long term. Just like buying groceries in bulk works out cheaper, the same goes for buying ammunition. Save up for a few months and make a handful of larger purchases every year, as opposed to buying up a little at the end of every month or going all in overnight. It's just going to be more economical for you to save up for your purchases separately from all your other monthly expenses. Besides, stockpiling anything worth saving is not the kind of thing you decide over breakfast. This is for the long game, and therefore needs to be undertaken slowly and over time. Otherwise, you're just asking to bleed money that you don't have. Also have a look at your laws. The USA is very lenient with the amount of ammunition you can keep for most firearms, but most other countries in the world have limitations on how much a person is allowed to hold on to at a single time. Get clued in so you don't end up on the wrong side of the law. And finally, we shouldn't have to tell you to keep your rounds organized and labeled. And we don't just mean by caliber, also by date. Use the oldest rounds first, rotating them like you would groceries to keep ahead of the sell-by date. Moisture and heat. Now, with that out of the way, let's take a look at storage. Moisture and direct light can ruin thousands of dollars worth of ammunition and your precious firearms themselves in no time. Rust and corrosion will render every single round unusable and unsafe. You know you're in trouble if there's a greenish residue on your fingers after handling the bullets. That's a sign of rust. Throw them away. You don't want the round blowing up in your face because you figured that it would be okay this one time and that you'll take a chance on it. You can buy the plastic ammo cases that stores each bullet in its own neat little pocket, but that's just if you like things to look nice and organized for aesthetic purposes. There's no danger in storing bullets or shells loosely together. As long as the temperature, humidity, and light can be controlled, you don't have to have them in neat little rows. Obviously, a gun safe would be the best place to store all of your weapons and anything related to them. But that's a big financial expense to undertake for most of us, especially if you want to stockpile ammo and you'll need more space than usual. And for heaven's sake, keep the ammunition hidden from view. Not because we want you to hide what you're doing, but having it out in the open is asking for theft, damage, and curious looky-loos poking around. Keep ammunition behind a locked door at the very least. Storage cans. If you're going to shell out the money for anything, it's going to be for the ammunition boxes. The cardboard boxes that they're sold in are meant to be temporary. Cardboard soaks up moisture like nobody's business. You need to get rid of these ASAP. You need an airtight, waterproof box that'll keep your stuff safe, especially for those who live in areas prone to flooding, have high humidity, and get heavy rains. Here, plastic just won't do. Mostly, the plastic boxes are airtight and great for a quick hunting trip, but for long-term storage, they'll break if something falls on top of it. Or if a flood rages through, they just won't stand the beating and will float away. Metal hulls offer much better protection, and they'll stay put where you put them down. And finally, make sure that you're buying cans with rubber seals. Without them, they won't be air and water tight. Getting storage cans also doubles as a storage container for, well, anything. Emergency rations, gear, electronics, and anything you want to stock up on that can be moved quickly and in an organized fashion. Temperature and heat. Moisture and heat control is non-negotiable if your stash is going to last. A decent dehumidifier is a reasonably priced option to keep humidity under control. And rechargeable desiccant packs can be bought for under $20 on Amazon or bought even less at your local gun shop. A pack of silica gel is the most inexpensive option. You can buy it on Amazon for next to nothing, or you can find them in any over-the-counter medication bottles. So hang on to those baggies when you pick up your next prescription. It's an excellent absorber of moisture. The ideal temperature for ammunition to be stored in is anything between 65 to 68 degrees. Anything above that and you're asking for trouble. The lower floors of your house, like the basement, is an ideal place to keep it, or tucked away in a closet that's on the side of the house that gets the least amount of sun during the day. Even if you don't get the safe, the ammo boxes will be the biggest expense, after you consider the ammunition itself. But there is one last option that is much cheaper: vacuum sealing ammo. If ammo boxes are really out of your price range, go for the trusty old vacuum sealer. Seriously, every prepper out there needs a vacuum sealer, not just for ammunition. Anything that's stored for long periods of time should be vacuum sealed. You don't need it to be fancy, just a standard Walmart unit will do. The point of storing ammunition is to keep air and moisture out, and that's exactly what a vacuum sealer does, and even better than a metallic box does. Place it inside the bag with your bullets and shells and suck that baby clean. Now all you have to do is give it a container that'll keep it protected and out of direct sunlight. Dangers for long-term storage. A lot of people are under the impression that storing ammunition is dangerous. Please rest assured that it is not. Your house isn't going to explode if a few boxes are left out in a sunny spot for a few hours. And unless there's a house fire that can directly scorch the ammo, you should be just fine. We hammer about the details because improper storage can render bullets useless. And if that rusty shell is loaded into a gun and fired, on rare occasions, it can cause the casing to burst, sending dozens of shards in all directions. And those can hit you and anyone standing in close proximity. But most of the time, it just won't fire, or with much less velocity than they should. Ammunition should never be stored on the floor. If there's a leak in the roof from a pipe, it goes where gravity pulls it, and that is flat on the floor. Keep it high, keep it cool, and keep it dry. And on a final note, shotgun shells are the most likely to rust and pick up moisture. We highly advise you to vacuum seal them when you want them to last for a few years. But other than that, you can and should be storing ammunition, just like you should be stockpiling food and other supplies. Like you just heard, it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg, and it isn't dangerous either. And if you're stockpiling everything else, why not ammunition? Self-defense and feeding your family is just about as important as medical supplies are. Just because there aren't shortages now doesn't mean there won't be tomorrow. Don't let complacency be the death of you. This is Threat to Survival. Prepare today, thrive tomorrow. Embrace the threat to survival.